Redditors who were born at a very young age, what is your story? To be honest, I've suppressed nearly every memory of the early period, but my parents tell me I avoided most activities, refused to speak, and spent much of my time crying. Big deal, I do that now. I used to. I still do, but I used to, too. I was so shocked, I couldn't speak for a year. Well, same, but I was also so shocked I couldn't walk for 8 months. 8 months? You were lucky. I didn't walk until I was 15 months old. Then I got over it and discovered the joys of running. A maniac in blue clothes pulled me off and slapped me. While I get this is supposed to be a funny one, I actually was born at a very young age, 3 months premature. In 1987, a 3-month premature baby was a pretty dicey situation. My parents allowed the doctors to do some lung treatments that at the time were still very new. I spent a long time in an incubator and had a feeding tube. The scar makes it look like I have 2 belly buttons, which I used to think was super neat when I was a kid. All in all, I turned out fine. I have 2 kids of my own who were born healthy and on time. I guess I just wanted to share my somewhat serious story on this otherwise lighthearted thread just in case any other parents of preemies happen to read. Even if your baby is born at a very young age, there is hope that everything can be okay. I was also born 3 months prematurely. My mom said that I was so desperate to be born in the same month as my older brother that I was coming out of her with my legs down as she was in the front passenger seat while my dad was driving to the hospital. I was born with a weak heart muscle and grew up with a lot of health problems now. I'm wondering what my life would be like if I was born as a full-term baby instead of a premature baby. I'm sad that they got rid of the car I was born in. I wanted to drive it when I got my driver's license. I was born naked. That's so embarrassing. I don't want to brag or anything, but I've seen a pussy right after I was born. Not another one since that though. Dude, I was sucking on titties for months after that. Months? PSHT. I'm 31 and still sucking on the same titties. To be honest with you, it was pretty rough. I couldn't talk, so I had a real tough time expressing myself. It got so frustrating I'd just cry and cry. Sometimes my mom or dad would be there for me, then they'd cover their face and completely disappear from my world. Also, I could not stop pooping myself, so no one respected me. Consequently, they kept treating me like a baby. I'm so sorry about that experience. Seriously, it made me tear up just reading your story. Hopefully, that mental trauma didn't follow you your entire life. You'll be in my prayers tonight. I was born at a very young age, the youngest age anyone has seen. People say it was the greatest, youngest birth ever. It was young and beautiful. Great age. Tremendous age. And you know, a lot of people have ages. My people told me these people, many people have ages. But we have such great ages, folks, I'll tell ya. But no one had such a young age. The doctors, they said, we've never seen such a young age. Many doctors told me this. The youngest age, possibly ever. Joe Biden could never be born at such an age. Joe Biden, when he was born he turned 40. And maybe even older than that. I don't know, maybe even older than that. And you know, I have never looked better. Believe me. Right after my birth I slowly started dying. I remember when I was applying for a job as a fashion editor they asked me what made me get into fashion. I didn't know what to say, so I said I've been putting on clothes since I can remember. Both the interviewer and I started cracking up. I got that job. I happened to be born extremely young. In fact, I also happen to have been the youngest person on the planet, even if only for a very short period of time, presumably. When my mother was pregnant with me, they did an ultrasound and found she was having twins. When they did another ultrasound a few weeks later, they discovered that I had adsorbed the other fetus. Do I regret this? No, I believe this tissue has made me stronger. I now have the strength of a grown man and a little baby. It all started on the day of my birth. My parents didn't show up. Edit, this blew up, thank you all, D. After I was born I started to age quickly, with about 1 second per second. Every 60 seconds in Africa a minute passes. No it doesn't. Have you ever waited at a single-lane bridge waiting for a tortoise to cross the bridge and you have an appointment that you can't be late for? Well, seriously, this really has happened to me in South Africa. That does not feel like a normal second. While I get this is supposed to be a funny one, I actually was born at a very young age, 3 months premature. In 1987, A 3-month premature baby was a pretty dicey situation. My parents allowed the doctors to do some lung treatments that at the time were still very new. I spent a long time in an incubator and had a feeding tube. The scar makes it look like I have 2 belly buttons, which I used to think was super neat when I was a kid. All in all, I turned out fine. I have 2 kids of my own who were born healthy and on time. I guess I just wanted to share my somewhat serious story on this otherwise lighthearted thread just in case any other parents of preemies happen to read. Even if your baby is born at a very young age, there is hope that everything can be okay. It's one of the very first things I did, being born. And as such, I didn't have much experience at it. There were a whole lot of large people there I'd never met, and I had no clothes that fit. That said, I did well enough that I'm still here and haven't needed to be born again. In fact, as age goes, I've held a personal record for days old literally every day since then. I learned a lot in those early days. Screaming doesn't always get you what you want. Moms and dads are pretty awesome. Being allowed to sleep 20 hours a day doesn't last forever. I was born at a very young age. I was birthed from my mother's vagina and my dad was there to watch. They named me after a movie. As I grew up, I learned a lot of things. I learned how to walk, to talk, to not eat chalk. I learned how to spell, to rant, to not shit in my pants. I learned my 1 2 3's, my ABCs. Life looked quite alright, but then, horror struck. I realized my pee-pee existed, and it felt good touching it. I started jacking off, and it spiraled from there. Now I'm a 14-year-old dude, which includes jacking off as a daily routine. Life, contrary to everyone else's, has been going smoothly. I've got friends and family, heck I got my own chocolate bar. This is my story.